What if I told you that the most powerful man in the ancient world woke up every morning and deliberately made himself uncomfortable? Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire that stretched from Britain to the Middle East, commanded legions, and made decisions that affected millions of lives. Yet every single day, he started with practices that would make most modern people quit within a week. Here's the shocking part. These weren't just random habits. They were specifically designed to build mental armor that made him unbreakable under pressure. While we're checking our phones within seconds of waking up, this emperor was training his mind like a weapon. The crazy thing is, neuroscience now proves that what he was doing actually rewires your brain for resilience, focus, and peak performance. Today, I'm going to show you his exact daily routine and how to adapt it for your modern life. By the end of this video, you'll have a system that builds the same mental toughness that helped him lead an empire while dealing with plagues, wars, and betrayals. This isn't about motivation. It's about becoming someone who doesn't need motivation. Part 1. The Cold Water Confession. Ritual. Here's something that will shock you about the most powerful emperor in history. Every morning, Marcus Aurelius did something that would make most people think he was crazy. He had access to heated baths, servants, and every luxury imaginable. Yet he chose to start his day with ice-cold water hitting his face. But that wasn't the weird part. While that freezing water dripped down his skin, he would speak out loud about his biggest fears and his most embarrassing failures. Picture this. The ruler of the Roman Empire, standing there soaking wet, confessing his weaknesses to himself before the sun even rose. Most people today wake up and immediately reach for their phones to escape reality. Marcus did the exact opposite. He forced himself to face reality head-on while his body was in shock from the cold. There's actually a scientific reason why this works so well. When cold water hits your system, it activates something called your vagus nerve. This nerve controls your body's stress response and emotional regulation. By combining cold exposure with vulnerability, he was literally rewiring his brain for resilience. Here's what's fascinating. Modern neuroscience proves that controlled stress like this makes you stronger, not weaker. When you voluntarily put yourself through discomfort while acknowledging your fears, you build what researchers call stress inoculation. Your brain learns that you can handle difficult situations. Most people avoid discomfort and wonder why they feel weak when real challenges hit them. The emperor understood that leadership requires emotional strength. Every day, he would face betrayals, political pressure, and life-or-death decisions. By starting each morning confronting his own vulnerabilities in a state of physical stress, he was building mental armor. He knew that if he could handle being uncomfortable and honest with himself, he could handle anything the day threw at him. This brings us to warrior habit number 1 out of 8, the cold water confession ritual. Here's how you adapt this for your modern life. Tomorrow morning, before you check your phone or drink your coffee, turn on cold water in your shower or sink. Spend exactly 2 minutes under or with that cold water. While you're experiencing that discomfort, say out loud one thing you've been avoiding or one fear that's been holding you back. Don't just think it, speak it. The combination of physical stress and emotional honesty will start building the same mental toughness that made Marcus unbreakable. Part 2. The reverse gratitude method. Most people think they understand gratitude. They write down 3 things they're thankful for and wonder why it doesn't change their life. Marcus Aurelius discovered something much more powerful than traditional gratitude. Something that would completely rewire how your brain values what you have. The emperor had everything: unlimited wealth, absolute power, and respect from millions. Yet every morning, he practiced the opposite of what gratitude experts teach today. Instead of listing what he was grateful for, Marcus would imagine losing everything that mattered to him. He would picture his family dying, his empire crumbling, and his health failing. This wasn't depression or negative thinking. This was strategic mental training. While most people take their blessings for granted until they're gone, Marcus was training his brain to appreciate what he had by experiencing its absence mentally. Here's why this works so much better than regular gratitude. When you simply list what you're thankful for, your brain gets used to it. It becomes routine and loses its emotional impact. But when you imagine losing something precious, your brain treats it like a real threat. It triggers genuine appreciation and makes you value what you have right now. Neuroscientists call this loss aversion. Your brain is wired to feel loss more intensely than gain. The emperor knew that appreciation isn't just about feeling good. It's about staying motivated and focused. When you truly value what you have, you work harder to protect and improve it. Most people lose motivation because they stop appreciating their progress and opportunities. They only realize what they had after it's gone. Marcus made sure this never happened to him by regularly experiencing that loss mentally. Think about your own life right now. You probably have things that millions of people would trade everything for. Your health, your relationships, your opportunities, even your problems. But because you see them every day, your brain stops noticing how valuable they are. This is why people who win the lottery often end up miserable. They never learn to appreciate what they already had. This is warrior habit number 2 out of 8. The reverse gratitude method. Here's your implementation. Each morning, pick one thing you value in your life. Instead of just saying you're grateful for it, spend 3 minutes imagining in detail what your life would be like if you lost it tomorrow. Feel that loss. Let it hurt a little. Then open your eyes and look at what you still have with fresh appreciation. This single practice will make you value your life more than years of traditional gratitude journaling. Part 3. The Emperor's Death Calendar. There's a number that Marcus Aurelius calculated every single day that most people never think about. This number drove every decision he made and eliminated his tendency to waste time on meaningless activities. When archaeologists found his personal writings, they discovered something that revealed why he accomplished more in one lifetime than most people accomplish in 10. The emperor was obsessed with tracking exactly how much time he had left on Earth. Every morning, Marcus would calculate how many days he estimated he had left to live. Then he would cross off the previous day like marking an X on a calendar. But here's what made this so powerful. He didn't just think about this abstractly. He made his mortality concrete and visible. He turned the vague concept of death into a daily reminder that his time was limited and precious. Most people know they're going to die someday, but they live like they're immortal. They procrastinate on important goals, waste hours on meaningless activities, and postpone difficult conversations. They treat time like it's unlimited when it's actually the most finite resource they have. Marcus understood that awareness of death isn't morbid. It's the ultimate motivator. When you truly realize that your days are numbered and decreasing, everything changes. Suddenly, you stop tolerating toxic relationships because life's too short. You stop procrastinating on your dreams because time is running out. You stop getting angry about small problems because they're insignificant compared to the bigger picture. Death awareness doesn't make you depressed. It makes you focused. The emperor had unlimited power and wealth, but he couldn't buy more time. So he treated each day like the precious, irreplaceable gift it was. While other rulers wasted years on petty politics and meaningless luxury, Marcus used his awareness of mortality to stay focused on what actually mattered: legacy, character, and making a positive impact while he still could. Here's something that will shock you. If you're 30 years old, you have approximately 11,000 days left if you live to 80. If you're 40, you have about 15,000 days. These aren't just numbers. These are the remaining opportunities you have to become who you want to be and accomplish what matters to you. This is warrior habit number 3 out of 8, the Emperor's Death Calendar. Here's how you implement this today. Calculate how many days you have left based on your current age and average life expectancy. Put this number as your phone wallpaper or write it somewhere you'll see it daily. Watch it count down. Let this awareness guide your decisions. When you're about to waste time on something meaningless, remember that you just lost another irreplaceable day. This single practice will eliminate procrastination and help you focus on what truly matters. Part 4. Obstacle. Alchemy training. Marcus Aurelius faced more obstacles in 1 year than most people face in their entire lives. Plagues that killed millions, wars that threatened the empire, betrayals from trusted allies, and personal tragedies that would break most people. Yet he became stronger with each challenge. The emperor discovered a mental technique that turned every problem into fuel for growth. Something so powerful that it completely rewired how his brain processed difficulty. Every morning, before facing the day's challenges, Marcus would identify his biggest current problem. But instead of dreading it or trying to avoid it, he would spend time reframing it as his greatest opportunity. He called this obstacle alchemy, turning lead into gold. While most people see problems as something that happens to them, Marcus trained himself to see problems as raw material for building character and strength. Here's what's fascinating about this approach. Your brain is naturally wired to avoid problems and seek comfort. This worked when humans lived in caves and most problems were physical threats. But in modern life, your biggest growth comes from overcoming challenges, not avoiding them. When you consistently reframe obstacles as opportunities, you literally rewire your neural pathways. Your brain starts getting excited about problems instead of being paralyzed by them. The emperor understood something that most people never learn. The quality of your life isn't determined by how many problems you have. It's determined by how you respond to problems. Everyone has obstacles. The difference between successful people and unsuccessful people isn't the absence of problems. It's the ability to transform problems into stepping stones. Think about the most successful people you know. They didn't get where they are by avoiding challenges. They got there by facing more challenges than everyone else and getting better at solving them. Every obstacle they overcame made them stronger, smarter, and more capable. They developed what psychologists call anti-fragility, the ability to get stronger from stress instead of being broken by it. Most people waste enormous amounts of mental energy complaining about their problems, avoiding their problems, or wishing their problems would disappear. Marcus took all that energy and channeled it into finding opportunities within those same problems. This is why he became one of history's most respected leaders, while dealing with more crises than most rulers ever face. Your current biggest problem isn't happening to you, it's happening for you. It's trying to teach you something, strengthen you, or redirect you towards something better. The question isn't whether you'll have obstacles. The question is whether you'll let them defeat you or transform you. This is warrior habit number 4 out of 8, obstacle alchemy training. Here's your implementation. Right now, write down your biggest current problem or challenge. Then force yourself to list 5 specific ways this problem could actually be your greatest opportunity for growth, learning, or positive change. Don't just think about this. Write it down. Your brain needs to see these possibilities on paper to start believing them. Practice this with every new obstacle that appears in your life and watch how problems become your secret advantage. Part 5. The philosophical armor technique. Marcus Aurelius had to deal with some of the most difficult people in history. Corrupt senators who tried to undermine him, generals who questioned his authority, and family members who betrayed his trust. Yet historical records show that he rarely lost his temper or made emotional decisions that he later regretted. The emperor had developed a mental technique that protected him from other people's negativity and manipulation, something that kept him calm and strategic even when facing his worst enemies. Before every difficult conversation or challenging interaction, Marcus would spend time mentally preparing himself. But he didn't prepare by getting angry or building up his defenses. Instead, he would practice seeing the difficult person as a struggling human being rather than an enemy. He would imagine them as scared, hurt, or confused rather than malicious. This wasn't about being naive. It was about maintaining his emotional control and strategic thinking. Here's why this technique is so powerful. When someone treats you badly, your brain's first instinct is to see them as a threat and respond with anger or defensiveness. This emotional hijacking makes you reactive instead of strategic. You end up saying things you regret, making decisions based on emotion, and giving other people control over your mental state. Marcus understood that the person who stays calm has the advantage in any conflict. The emperor realized that most difficult behavior comes from pain, fear, or insecurity. The person who's attacking you is usually struggling with something internal. When you can see past their behavior to their underlying struggle, it becomes much easier to respond with wisdom instead of emotion. You stop taking their actions personally because you understand they're reacting to their own problems, not trying to hurt you specifically. This doesn't mean you become a pushover or let people walk all over you. It means you respond from a place of strength and clarity instead of reactive emotion. When you're not emotionally triggered, you can set boundaries more effectively, communicate more clearly, and make better decisions about how to handle the situation. Think about the last time someone really upset you. What if instead of getting angry, you'd been able to see them as someone who was probably having a bad day, dealing with their own problems or acting out of their own fear and insecurity? How differently might you have responded? How much mental energy would you have saved? Most people let difficult people ruin their entire day or even their entire week. They carry around anger and resentment that only hurts themselves. Marcus developed immunity to this by refusing to take other people's behavior personally. He understood that their actions reflected their character, not his worth. This is warrior habit number 5 out of 8. The philosophical armor technique. Here's how you implement this. Before your next difficult conversation or when dealing with someone who typically triggers you, spend 2 minutes imagining that person as a scared child who's acting out because they don't know how to handle their own pain. See past their behavior to their humanity. This mental preparation will help you stay calm, respond wisely, and maintain your emotional control, no matter how they behave. Part 6. Energy Archaeology Method. Marcus Aurelius discovered something about energy that most people never realize until it's too late. The emperor had access to detailed records of his daily activities, meetings, and interactions. But instead of just tracking his schedule, he was tracking something much more valuable. He was mapping his energy levels throughout each day and identifying exactly what was draining his life force versus what was energizing him. The emperor treated his energy like his most precious resource, because it was. He understood that having unlimited power and wealth meant nothing if he was too drained to use them effectively. So he became an archaeologist of his own energy patterns. He would carefully examine which activities, people, and environments left him feeling depleted versus which ones made him feel more alive and capable. Here's what Marcus discovered that changed everything. Most people are slowly being killed by energy vampires that they never identify. These could be certain people who drain you with their negativity, activities that exhaust you without providing value, or environments that make you feel heavy and tired. Because the energy drain happens gradually, you don't notice it until you're completely depleted. The emperor was ruthless about eliminating energy drains from his life. If a person consistently left him feeling drained without providing equivalent value, he would limit his time with them. If an activity was sapping his energy without contributing to his goals or well-being, He would delegate it or eliminate it entirely. He protected his energy like a precious resource because he knew that everything he wanted to accomplish required energy. Most people today are walking around at about 30% of their potential energy levels. They wonder why they feel tired all the time, why they lack motivation, and why they can't seem to accomplish their goals. The problem isn't that they need more sleep or more coffee. The problem is that their energy is being systematically drained by things they haven't identified or addressed. Think about your typical day. How do you feel after spending time with different people? Which activities leave you feeling energized versus exhausted? What environments make you feel more alive versus more drained? Most people have never actually mapped these patterns, so they keep repeating the same energy-draining mistakes over and over. The fog comes on little cat feet. It sits looking over harbor and city on silent haunches, and then moves on. He would imagine his wealth disappearing, his health failing, his loved ones dying, and his empire crumbling. This wasn't pessimism or negative thinking. This was strategic mental preparation. While most people avoid thinking about worst-case scenarios, Marcus was building immunity to life's inevitable setbacks by experiencing them mentally first. Here's the psychology behind why this works so powerfully. When bad things happen to most people, they're completely unprepared emotionally and mentally. They fall apart because they never imagined they could handle such difficulties. But when you've already mentally rehearsed losing everything, real losses don't destroy you. You've already worked through the emotions and started planning how you would rebuild. The emperor understood that life is unpredictable and often unfair. No matter how successful you become, you're always one phone call away from having your life completely changed. You could lose your job, your health, your relationships, or your savings without warning. Most people live in denial about this reality, which makes them fragile when difficulties inevitably come. Marcus called this philosophical inoculation, exposing yourself to small doses of imagined hardship to build immunity to real hardship. Just like vaccines work by exposing your immune system to weakened versions of diseases, this mental practice exposes your psyche to controlled versions of loss and setback. When real challenges come, you're already prepared. This practice doesn't make you pessimistic. It makes you anti-fragile. Instead of being broken by stress and setbacks, you become someone who gets stronger from them. You develop the mindset of someone who has already survived their worst fears, so nothing can truly defeat you. You become unshakable because you've already shaken yourself mentally. Most people spend their mental energy worrying about things that might never happen, which weakens them. Marcus spent his mental energy preparing for things that inevitably would happen, which strengthened him. The difference is preparation versus worry. Worry is passive and destructive. Preparation is active and empowering. Think about your biggest fears right now. What would you do if you lost your job tomorrow? How would you rebuild if you lost your savings? How would you cope if someone you love became seriously ill? Most people have never seriously considered these questions, so they're completely unprepared when life throws them curveballs. The emperor knew that the people who survive and thrive through difficulties aren't the ones who never face problems. They're the ones who have mentally prepared for problems. They've already worked through the emotions, considered their options, and developed the inner strength to handle whatever comes their way. This is warrior habit number 8 out of 8, philosophical inoculation practice. Here's your implementation. Spend 5 minutes each day imagining your current worst-case scenario in detail. Don't just think about what you'd lose. Think about how you would rebuild. What resources would you still have? What strengths would you draw upon? How would you start over? This mental rehearsal will build the same unshakable resilience that helped Marcus Aurelius lead an empire through impossible challenges. Conclusion. These 8 practices transformed a regular man into one of history's most respected leaders and philosophers. Marcus Aurelius didn't become extraordinary because he was born special. He became extraordinary because he built extraordinary daily habits that forged his character like steel in fire. Every morning ritual, every mental exercise, and every moment of preparation was designed to create someone who could not be broken by external circumstances. The cold water and vulnerability built his emotional resilience. The reverse gratitude deepened his appreciation for life. The death calendar eliminated his procrastination. The obstacle alchemy turned his problems into opportunities. The philosophical armor protected him from difficult people. The energy archaeology optimized his vitality. The legacy mirror shaped his character. And the philosophical inoculation made him unshakable in the face of any crisis. Here's what's remarkable. You now have access to the same mental tools that built one of history's greatest leaders. These aren't just historical curiosities. They're practical techniques that work just as powerfully today as they did 2,000 years ago. The question isn't whether they work. The question is whether you'll actually implement them. Most people will watch this video, feel inspired for a few hours, and then go back to their old patterns. But warriors are different. Warriors take action. They understand that knowledge without implementation is worthless. They know that the gap between knowing and doing is where most people's dreams go to die. Your life can change starting tomorrow morning. Not because of some miracle or lucky break, but because you choose to build yourself into someone capable of creating the life you want. These 8 habits will forge you into a person who doesn't need motivation because you've built discipline. A person who doesn't fear challenges because you've learned to transform them into opportunities. A person who can't be broken by setbacks because you've already prepared for them mentally. The daily routine that built Marcus Aurelius is waiting for you to claim it. The only question left is whether you'll step up and begin building the warrior within yourself, or whether you'll remain the same person you were when this video started. The choice is yours. Make it count.
Mm-hmm.